Hey guys, JV here with another episode of Journey to Andromeda, and today we're talking about how many planets we might be able to explore in the next Mass Effect. This has been a point of debate since the exploration trailer dropped a few days ago when the narrator explained that there are over 100 planets to discover and a handful of beautifully crafted worlds that you can land on and actually explore. Unfortunately, handful of beautifully crafted worlds is really vague. We don't know what handful of worlds and planets actually means. So in this video, we're going to sift through all of the footage that has been released so far to find and locate as many unique planets as possible. I'll be referencing the new Golden Worlds Initiative briefing that was released yesterday, so check the link in the description below if you haven't seen that yet. Before we begin, quick reminder that I'm uploading a ton of Andromeda content before and after launch. That includes tips and tricks guides, a blind playthrough, and multiplayer. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure and subscribe. Starting us off, let's talk about Golden Worlds. Again, this is from the Golden Worlds briefing, the final Andromeda briefing before launch. So there are 7 Golden Worlds. These are also known as habitats, and they are targets for the Andromeda Initiative. It's their best chance of finding a new home planet and world to actually colonize in Andromeda. We know that some of the criteria for a Golden World are that it should support life, it should be able to support life, and it should also be rich in minerals for the initiative to actually collect, put that towards the Nexus, and put that towards actually building and colonizing that planet. Before launch, we know that the initiative conducted some long-range surveys that gave them data and some of these pictures that are shown in this trailer, but there's no way to know what state these Golden Worlds will be in once the initiative actually arrives 600 plus years later. So realistically, and because they actually mentioned that, I think there is a real possibility that some worlds will not be golden anymore when the initiative gets there. So that's a possibility. Keep that in mind. So we're going to start out by going through each of these habitats 1 through 7 and then look at some other footage of worlds that don't match up with these habitats that we've seen gameplay of. Habitat 1 is described as an arid world with vast underground rivers and good temperature for supporting life and colonization. Habitat 2 is described as being so rich in minerals that it'll be very important to the initiative. Now, the reason I listed both 1 and 2 right there is because I'm a little confused which is Eladin and which is another planet, because we've seen a ton of footage of a deserty, rocking-looking environment, but both of these have deserts and rocks. The problem is the footage for Habitat 1 doesn't have the distinct red kind of plants and vegetation that Habitat 2 has. Case in point, we have this footage of Eladin, which shows off trees and grass that are that orangey kind of red color. I believe this more aligns with Habitat 2 than Habitat 1. The issue is that from the Golden Worlds briefing, we hear arid world. You know, it is a deserty kind of environment. Another issue I have is that Habitat 2 is a moon that orbits a gas giant, and I don't know about you guys, but it looks like that's what Eladin is right here. If you look at the top right, there appears to be multiple moons orbiting a giant planet that's in the background, and I don't know if I'm off about this, but it does seem to me that it's more likely that Habitat 2 is Eladin instead of Habitat 1. So what about Habitat 1? Have we seen any gameplay of this? Some of you may be thinking, JV, what about Kadara? That could be it. The problem I have with that is these conflicting maps. So this is from the newest briefing. Habitat 1 is near the bottom of this Golden Worlds look of the Helios cluster. So if Kadara is Habitat 1, we would expect that to be reflected in the actual map in the game. However, we can see from the exploration trailer that at the very top is Kadara in the Gover Cam system. I don't know how you're supposed to say that, but that is where Kadara is, and so it's not near the bottom. It's not near where Habitat 1 should be, according to the briefing. And furthermore, if you compare the colors, the red and orangey lights are on the left, but the blue is on the right. Going back to the briefing, that's the same thing going on here. It looks like it might be rotated a little bit, but same basic concept. Basically, Kadara and Habitat 1 don't seem to line up. That's why I don't think Kadara is Habitat 1. Here's a few little bits of gameplay from what looks like a darker looking arid planet. I think this could be Habitat 1. Again, I'm really just looking at the general lighting of these scenes and also the fact that it's arid. It is a desert, but it's darker than Eladin, and I think that's the main distinction between Habitat 1 and Habitat 2. So my working theory right now is that Habitat 1 is unknown. We don't know what it is, but Habitat 2 is Eladin. I believe that. I could be wrong, but that's what I think so far. Habitat 3 has lush jungle canopies and rolling hills. I'm not convinced that we've seen any footage of Habitat 3, but I do have a working theory here. I think it is where we're going to find the Angara. At least in this specific scene, we see some nice foliage there with Jal. I don't know. This could be it. Looking at the briefing map, Habitat 3 is kind of on the edge of where the orange and the red lighting meets the blue lighting on the bottom. And then if we look at the galaxy map in the actual game, I think there's two possibilities. I think this could be Aya. I think that's a planet name in the Onean galaxy that's kind of close to the center of the Helios cluster. That could be it. It could be up a little bit further. It could even be Voeld. I think that's a possibility as well. I'm sure some of you have already commented this, but I do realize that the initiative briefing is not representative of actual gameplay, but I believe that this map should somewhat align to the galaxy map that we've seen so far, and it kind of has to a certain degree. Habitat 4 has liquid surface water and could sustain life. Also, pay attention to these tall, pointy rocks, because that's how we're going to identify this in gameplay. In the following clips, you'll see things that identify this planet, I believe, throughout all of them. There's the pointy rocks, there's some green grass, and some yellow-looking, almost mushroom, glowy plants. You see them very well right here. But all of these appear to be the same planet to me. Throughout all of this gameplay, it looks like this is indeed Habitat 4, especially falling down here, looking at those same rocks. In terms of the maps, the initiative briefing shows that Habitat 4 is near the top center of the blue, definitely on the right top side of what we should expect. And then in the actual game, all we see here is Aya and Voeld, but again, it could be one of these other systems that hasn't been explored yet. It doesn't have to be either or. Habitat 5 will support Turian and Quarian colonists, so that is a confirmation right there that there will be Quarian colonists. We don't know if we'll, meet them or anything like that, but side note, Quarians confirmed actually in the Andromeda Initiative. So here's a nice little collection of this same rainy-looking planet with that nice fluorescent-looking vegetation, and I think there might be two rainy-looking planets. There's one small scene where we kind of see it's more industrial-looking, and there's like a city, but again, that could be the same exact planet. I'm not really sure, but we know that some of these clips definitely belong to Habitat 5. Looking at the maps, Habitat 5 is kind of near the top where blue meets orange, and looking at the actual galaxy map, the only thing up there that we've seen so far is Voeld. It could be this, again, it could be an unexplored system with an unexplored planet. Habitat 6 has wide oceans and a temperate climate. So this habitat is a little bit tricky because I really haven't seen much that points to this except for this one clip. It's a very short clip. It's only in one of the trailers. Habitat 6 is on the very outer edge of the briefing map, and then on the actual galaxy map, we don't have anything to indicate where that is. It's probably on the far left side of the screen if I had to guess. Finally, Habitat 7, supposed to be New Earth. It has all the markers of a tropical paradise. It's supposed to be the future home for humanity, but something has gone wrong with it. We know that for sure, and I don't want to spoil anything, but we do know something is wrong with Habitat 7. We haven't seen any tropical paradise looking gameplay, perhaps the Angaran world, but that really does look like another world to me. So going along with that theory, I think that Habitat 7 is this kind of purple sky looking remnant world with lava, and we have a few bits of gameplay for that. And anyway, we don't have any other planet to assign this with, and this is also what was shown in PB's loyalty mission on IGN. I can't just steal that gameplay, that's not mine. So this is what we have, this molten lava purple sky looking area. I think this might be Habitat 7, maybe. We see that Habitat 7, it's the one that's cut off, is near Habitat 6 on the left side of the map, but nothing is revealed in the actual galaxy map footage that we have. So those are the habitats based on the descriptions and the gameplay that I think corresponds with them. Again, just theories so far, but we have several worlds that are unaccounted for that don't line up with the habitats. So first off, we have this snowy world. We have a lot of gameplay of a snowy, icy world. Sometimes it looks dark, sometimes it looks light. I don't know if those are two separate snow worlds or just one, but there's tons of snow gameplay, and that is not a habitat. And then there's Kadara, a planet that we have a ton of gameplay for. It's recognized by its red soil, grass, and that kind of sunset feel that's always going on. Kadara is not a habitat, at least from what I believe from what we've seen so far. I think Kadara is different from Habitat 1, especially based on the location in the galaxy map. And again, on the galaxy map, we have potential world names, Voeld, Aya, and Havarl. Those are three. We don't know if these coincide specifically with habitats or not. So how do we come up with a number of planets that we can actually land on and explore from what we've talked about in this video? This is what makes sense to me. Let me know if it lines up with your logic. First off, we know for sure that we visit these planets. Eladin, that's Habitat 2, at least from what I believe. The tall rocky planet, that's Habitat 4. The dark rainy planet, Habitat 5. The ocean planet, that's Habitat 6. We visit some kind of snowy planet. We don't think that's a habitat, at least from what's been revealed. We visit Kadara, that's another planet. I don't think that's a habitat. And then we have the molten lava purple sky planet. I think that's habitat 7, but I could be wrong. That is 7 planets right there we know we land on for sure, but there's a few more. There's habitat 1. I didn't list that one because I'm not 100% sure on that one. There's also habitat 3, which may or may not be the Angaran planet that we talked about earlier. I'm not 100% on that. So for me, my absolute minimum of planets from what I've seen and what I believe is the number 8. It's either 8 or 9. I really do believe that there are 8 or 9 different planets that we're going to visit in this game. When we're talking about the maximum number of planets, again, we have a handful of beautifully crafted explorable planets. So I think you have to curb your expectation. I don't think it's going to be in the 20s. I think that's ridiculous. I think the absolute maximum is probably around 13 to 15 in that range for me. So the number that I come up with in the middle is 10 or 11. I think 10 or 11 planets are going to be explorable in this game, and that is also an optimistic perspective. It could be that low of 8 or 9, but I think 10 or 11 is definitely possible. Again, these are planets that you can land on and run around in. There's supposed to be over 100 planets that you can actually explore, but you won't be able to land on all of them. I think around 10 or 11 is a good expectation from what we've seen so far. Also, I'd like to point out there's a lot of little bits of gameplay on interior locations. We don't know if those are different planets, or we don't know if there's planets that haven't even been shown at all. So that number could extend a little bit more than what we've seen. One final very reasonable point to make is that some of these planets may just be for one mission. You may only spend 30 minutes to an hour on some of these planets. That is just a theory. I don't know anything about that. I do know that in the original trilogy, some planets were like that. Some of them you just visited for 30 minutes and then left, especially in Mass Effect 2. Because if people look at Mass Effect 2 and are like, oh, there's 17 planets in the game. Yes, but you only spent 30 minutes on some of those planets. That may be the case with some of the planets that we've seen. But on the other hand, we do have hands-on impressions, stuff from IGN, information floating about that some of these planets are massive. They're huge. You're going to spend a lot of time on some of these planets. Anyways, guys, that's my best guess on the number of actual explorable, landable planets in Andromeda based on all of the footage revealed so far. I'd love to hear from you all in the comment section below. What do you think that magic number is? What is a reasonable range, a reasonable expectation for the number of explorable planets? I think, again, it's around 10 to 11. It could be on the lower range or the higher range. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen in the full game. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, be sure and hit the like button. I'd appreciate that. And also be sure and subscribe to my channel for more Andromeda content. Again, my next analysis video is probably going to be on the multiplayer that's about to be revealed. So you're not going to want to miss that. Be sure and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.